The Seattle Mariners are officially firing Scott Servais, and it looks like he will be replaced with a minor league catching coordinator, Dan Wilson. And first and foremost, I got to get this out of the way. I love it. I think this is a great firing. It's been a long time overdue. He should have been gone, I think, at least a couple months ago. I know people might want to say that's a mean way to put it, or that's not very nice. I'm sure Scott's a very nice person. I have nothing against him personally. I hope that he finds another job somewhere. I hope his family's okay. But make no mistake about it, Scott Servais at this point in his career and where he's at with this Mariners team, not a good fit for the team. And I'm really happy they're getting rid of him right now, while they still have 36 games left to try to make a playoff run. And the number one thing that I didn't like about how Scott Servais managed was he was too analytical for me. It always felt like he had a predetermined plan based on statistics, analytics, and it just had it all on a spreadsheet. And regardless of anything that happened in the game, he was just going to manage this way no matter what, because the numbers said to do one thing. I think that's a terrible way to manage baseball. I think anybody with a calculator can do that. And if that was the case and that's all you needed to be a baseball manager, then anyone could do it. And we know that's not the case. Therefore, this is a great firing. In terms of Dan Wilson, it looks like he's been in the minor league system as like a special coordinator and sometimes a broadcaster. I do not know that much about Dan Wilson, but I do know that he had a great MLB career. He was also a catcher. But like in terms of how he manages and who he is as a manager, I don't have a clue. I think this is all going to be very new for everybody, for the fans, the team, for Dan. But it gives me hope because sometimes bringing in new eyes and new energy and somebody that can come in and say, hey, we got a chance to do something special here. This season's not over. We got 36 games left. You guys want to do something special? You guys want to build something amazing here to finish out the season? Or you just want to go home with your tails tucked and just call it quits and make sure you hit your tee times? What's it going to be? That's what I'm hoping for. And now let's transition into why I still have so much hope for this team going forward in this 36-game stretch. First of all, after the road trip from hell, where they went, I believe, 1-8, the Mariners are still only 5 games back from the Astros in the division. I know that's not a great look. I know that that is as far back as they've been all season. But honestly, all things considered and how they played and their record over that stretch, this could have been a lot worse than what it is. And with 36 games left, there is still plenty of time. And most importantly, the main reason why a 5-game deficit does not bother me is this right here. At the end of the year, they're going to get 3 games against Houston in Houston. And that's going to be followed up with a homestand against the Athletics to end the season. But the most important thing to remember here is, can they go into those 3 games against Houston at the end of the season in September, only 2 or 3 games back from the division lead? Can they do that? Or even 4? Because if they win that series against Houston, they're going to have the tiebreaker against them. Take that into account with the homestand against the Athletics. They have another chance to pick up some games there. So by the end of this 36-game stretch, do I believe that this Seattle Mariners, with one of the best, if not the best, starting pitching staff in baseball, has a chance to at least make those 6 games matter? 100% I believe that, and I think it's going to happen. I think the end of this season is going to once again come down to the wire. Those games are going to matter, and the Mariners are going to win that series against Houston in Houston. I know it's been a horror show in that building. I know. Trust me. I understand the concerns there. But they're still waiting for the team to get fully healthy and come back. There's still absolutely a hot streak somewhere in this offense. It's hard to picture it now, but it just takes like a couple good weeks of baseball to just steal this division. Maybe even just a week of good baseball. There's just too many games left. There's too much on the line at the end of the season for me to give up on the Mariners right now. I don't care how painful it gets. They could even get swept in this next series, and I would still say it's not quite over yet. With all these things being said, I would like to transition, though, into the talk around the firings around Scott Servais and Jerry Dipoto. I would like to start with Jerry Dipoto. The general consensus around Jerry is a couple of things. First of all, he gets bailed out a lot because people bring up the money and ownership. Now, 100% ownership is the number one thing that you have to blame for any Mariners failures. If they miss the playoffs this season, although they should clean house, and I do think people should be fired regardless, ownership is absolutely the head of the snake, deserves the majority of the blame. But the problem is we can't change that as easily, can we? Unless they sell the team, there's not much we can do to change that. So what do we have that we can actually feasibly change to make this team better. And that's the guy, Jerry Dipoto, that puts the team together with the resources he has. And Jerry Dipoto committed probably the most fireable offense he's ever created in his tenure as a Mariners GM. And let's just set aside the money for a second. Let's not think about that. Let's just think about how he did in developing and putting together a good offense this year. Most importantly, how did Jerry do in mitigating the strikeouts? Because if we remember, going into this offseason, something that Jerry had mentioned and what his focus was going to be was, hey, we want to improve the offense and we really want to cut down on those strikeouts. That is our focus in this offseason. And then proceeded to create the worst offense in franchise history, the team that is going to break the all-time record in single season strikeouts, which should never happen. Being the single season holder in anything in baseball is outrageous. The sport's been around for 150 years. For you to have the team, regardless of how much baseball's changed, I don't care. You cannot go from a team that was number 2 in strikeouts last year, say we want to fix that, and then proceed to break the all-time record and strike out more than any team in MLB history. That alone is a fireable offense and says that you have no idea what you're doing on the offensive side of the ball. That is so abysmal. That is such a poor job of what you were trying to accomplish that alone should get him fired. The only exception to this is if John Stanton, the owner of the Mariners, decides he wants to put in his direct relative or his son into that GM position. If that's the case and that's the way it's going to be, then yes, I guess keep Jerry. But we can say after this season, Jerry Dipoto is the worst GM at scouting, finding, developing, and trading offensive talent. He's the worst in baseball. It's not a debate anymore. And it's not just the strikeouts. Let's compare the 2023 offensive stats to the 2024 stats. They had a 734 OPS as a team that is 16th in the league in 2023, middle of the pack. In slugging percentage, the Seattle Mariners had a 413 slugging percentage. Again, that is 16th, middle of the pack in slugging. In on-base percentage, Seattle Mariners were 15th, same thing, directly in the middle with a 321 on-base percentage. Batting average, they were 22nd with a 242 team batting average, a little bit below average. In strikeouts, they finished second on the year to the Minnesota Twins, who are the current record holders for strikeouts in a season. Mariners came within 51 strikeouts of them last year. In home runs, the Mariners were 11th with 210 last year. So I think it's fair to say that last year, even with the offensive problems they had, they were about middle of the pack, maybe slightly below average, but that's all they need. That's all they need. That offense, that 2023 offense right there, you plug that in with this pitching staff right now, and you might have the best team in baseball. That's how bad of a job Jerry did. Look at 2024. Have we fully comprehended how bad this is yet? Batting average, Seattle Mariners dead last, 216 batting average. OPS, Seattle Mariners 28th, second to last, 666. Slugging percentage, 365 slug, almost dead last. On base percentage, you're 26th. You got a 301 on base percentage. The only thing you're middle of the pack in is home runs, which sure, that's cool, but you couple that with your strikeouts and you're way ahead of the second place team in strikeouts. You're at 1308, on pace to break the all-time record. So you lead the league in strikeouts. You have the lowest batting average. You have one of the worst on base percentages, slugging, OPS, everything. You got worse in everything on offense. That is so frustrating to watch.